Welcome back to the second episode of Love and Knowledge. I'm your host, Mitchell Prettyman, and today we're going to be talking about who we are and what we believe. How do those beliefs serve you? How do they move you? And what does that provide you? Starting off right off the bat, who we are deep down, far in, I believe, is pure potential. It isn't any one thing, it's limitless potential. And when we're lost in the chaos of life, that is one thing that I always fall back on to help me through. When we meditate, one of the simplest aspects of that meditation is to let go of everything that you see yourself as or you think you are. Your ego is what many of us call that. The ideas that you hold about yourself. When we let go, we allow ourselves to become more than we are. Because when you back it up to the pure potential, you can move in and out of all things in existence, because all things in existence stem from that pure potential. And once you're there, once you're at the blank canvas where there's no description, no definition, no form, then you can build yourself back up. You can enter the world of form again. You can have ideas about what you are. You become the it that is. Outside the pure potential, I think that is the simplest version of what I've been able to break us down to. We are something in motion. We are something that's doing something. You're doing the thing. And when you're doing the thing, then you can build from there and characterize all the things that you do. And then you can start introducing the reasoning why you do the things you do. And this is something that I go over with my clients is let's figure out how to get to the blank canvas. Let's figure out how to let go of everything that you think you are first. And then we'll build up from there. Instead of trying to fix what you got, let's start from the beginning. And in my beginning, I woke up or came to with a lot of deep questions. It's like, what is death? It's like the first time I considered, my own mortality was because as a little kid, I was outside and I was with my dad and we were, just working in the yard, and I was more playing, he was working. And it was the end of the night and we were about to go inside and he found a frog. He was like, Mitch, look at this. And I'd never seen one of these things before. And he picks it up and he puts it in my hand. And I'm like, oh, snap, like frog, like in my hand. This is a living creature. I've never held something smaller than me and also alive. And he then walked away, proceeded to walk towards the house. And the frog jumped out of my hands. And I was like, oh no, it's just like the gift that my father's given me. And I go down to try to get it. And the frog jumps away from me. And I chase after it. The frog jumps away. And I get frustrated and I step on it to make sure it doesn't jump away. And when I pulled my foot up, the frog was very still. And I realized in a split second, oh no, it's like I killed it. And it's like nobody had even explained to me what that is, what death is or dying was, but I knew in that moment what I had done, and I knew that there was no way to reverse it. The feeling that I got when the life left the creature's body, I on some level could sense. And I knew I had done wrong, or I knew that I couldn't take back what I had done. And I was very sad. But to know life is to accept death. To know who we are is to also know how to lay that down. So as humans, there are so many religions that preach afterlife. And there is this notion of the soul going on, of the information being carried forward. And we as humans are very attached to that need to exist, to go on, to proliferate our own existence. And I find that an act of the ego, that need to go on in the same form that you are, so that there's some form of continuity. And there's logic in that when you can move on with that same sense of continuity, more learning can be gained. More of what you are can be uncovered. But because we're also attached to that purest potential, that is mentality that builds up from the bottom up, it's like we never truly get destroyed. It's like we can take on as many ideas as exist in that potential. And overcoming the fear of losing that, I feel, is a very important aspect of learning how to meditate properly. Because if you can't let go of who you are, you can never get down to that moment of peace that exists within death and within the death of your ego. That letting go of what you are. And I get it. It's like who we are, the ideas that we surround ourselves with, provide us some sense of stability in life. We can fall back on how we're going to react. We can fall back on our nature. But really, what is that? What is the nature of being a human? Some would start with the animalistic need to survive, and many different thought systems have categorized it into what we know as the chakras. And getting past all the energy stuff, it's like the main idea of chakras is the levels of ego, the levels of nature that a human experiences. Like the bottom, the red one, is survival. And we have to survive to go on, to experience. And so there's an innate need to fight, an innate need to run, an innate need to live and to thrive. And it's a very basic animalistic thing that is the first level to us. And we can see this in bacteria. It's just like something that really has no higher cognitive function still has that innate nature where it desires to thrive. You can see it when amoebas go after certain bacterial cells. It's like they'll run away. No brain to speak of, but they know that is danger, Will Robinson, and I need to go. So it's just like it's one of the most basic instincts that life has to conserve what it is. And that leads to the second chakra, the need to proliferate what you are. That need to make a duplicate and store your knowledge that way, because there's a part of you that knows that when you die, you're going to be busted back to private. You're going to be rolled up in the annals of existence, so to speak, reabsorbed, recycled, broken down. And I guess, there are many different beliefs on that, but we can all agree that that's what happens to the body. I don't want to get into a theoretical conversation on that just yet. We're focusing on the chakras for now. But the second chakra, the sexual chakra, the creative chakra, is the level of human nature that wishes to go on, to duplicate. And when we make more of ourselves, there's an innate love in that, because we love who we are deep down. That's why we love our children for the most part. It's like I'm about to be a father, and the love that I'm feeling for that little baby growing inside my wife is immense beyond measure. It's like I feel so happy just thinking about him, and I feel so sad when I have to be away. And part of that love is that little human is half you. That little human is going to carry your genetic memories into the future. It's going to carry your lessons, your family's lessons, on into a new time that you may not be able to extend into because of the limits of your biology. And to take care of that, to honor that, is a part of our nature, that need to create, to leave the mark on existence, that this was there at all. And humankind gets really, really obsessed with that, I find. It's like so obsessed with making your mark and being remembered. And yet, when we expand out, dilate time and look at like the geologic record, or we look at, millennial records, or we look at the solar record or the galactic record, it's like we are a blip in history. And even if we are remembered for 1,000 years, in 1,000 years, our bones will be gone. They'll be dust, rendered to ash by time. And we fight so hard to do and to be things that will be remembered. Some carve statues and monoliths into the stone. Others try to create traditional elements within society that last for thousands of years. And many are successful in that. But some of the monoliths of stone and rock, the monuments to ancient civilizations, we don't even remember who built them. And I feel that not understanding that every time we're rendered to dust, it's a new opportunity to be built from the basic structure yet again. It's just like the fear of being lost, I feel is illogical. Because you're gonna be lost to time. It's just like you're gonna be rendered into nothing. But this moment, you were here. This moment, you described a part of our nature. That's why it's so important to accept who you are while you're here, because it's a blip. It's a little tiny thing on the universe's epic ass. And we need to come to terms with that, because a lot of times it's like that need to be remembered devolves into a need to dominate, and into a need to control history. And we see that time and time again, in all of history's conquerors. It's like part of what they're trying to accomplish is to take their story and have it last for several thousand years. And, I feel like it messes us up. If we as a species are able to understand that even though we're rendered to atoms, it's like the nature, our innate essence, never stops. It is always there underneath, intrinsic to reality itself, intrinsic to existence. The pure potential always exists. It's like a compendium, to use a word I learned from Alice in Wonderland, a compendium, a record of all things that exists in the potential, in the quantum superposition of the universe. Everything already exists. Everything that can exist mathematically, the potential is already there. It's like a shadow blueprint that we use for time immemorial to construct all of the various forms and events that existence holds. I mean, I said that in a few sentences, but that is a massive amount of things. There's so much potential in that. There's so much potential there that we're going to spend eternity playing that out. And so it's just like, if you can recognize that as a human, recognize that, yeah, it's like have the humility to say to yourself that I'm at one point going down. It's like I'm going back into the underworld, and that's okay. But that really leads to, in life, it's like, what are you going to do with it? What part of our nature are you going to be a testament to? And that's where the third chakra comes in, is the doing. It's the solar plexus, the yellow chakra. It's like the stomach, the fire, the sea of chi, or as Uncle Arrow puts it, the ocean of chi, depending on, your makeup. But, what we do with existence, what we do with what we desire to create is something that exists here in the moment. And it is something that, when we can define, we can refine. So knowing what you want to create and then doing it, it's just is part of our nature. It's something that, as humans, it's like a lot of us get caught up, in the creation aspect. It's like, oh, what do I want to create? And it's just like, there's so much stuff, and you have to choose, so many things. You have so many interests, or you can't think of it, that it's like, you just don't ever do it. So many of us falter at the creative step. And one of the best ways to do something, to move past that point, is to just decide on something and do it. I know that sounds weird, but it's like, instead of trying to perfect what you are right off the bat, you need to just start doing things. And in our nature, it's just like a lot of us will do that. But a lot of us have a hard time with that. And when we just let go of the need to be perfect, because it comes back again to making your mark. It's like, oh, when I start, I want it to be perfect. Oh, when I do this podcast, I want my words just to flow and liquid gold to be espoused across the electromagnetic airwaves. It's like, yeah, totally. It's like, I was thinking that when I started this podcast, but that stopped me from doing it because I wanted it to be perfect. And the truth is, you're never going to achieve the perfection that you seek. I know that's kind of like rain on your parade kind of mentality, but hear me out. You, as a living being, are made with something called the phi ratio. You probably heard about this thing, but the phi ratio is the ratio with which your physical form is constructed. And one of the things about the phi ratio is it's a number or a sequence, a relational, a numeric relation that produces a refinement down to zero without actually ever reaching it. It's one of those infinite numbers. Like it tries to reduce itself to zero, to perfection, so to speak. Perfection being the end all be all, the I'm doneness, the I did the thing, But it will never get there, because when it gets there, there's going to be a smaller digit and a smaller digit and a smaller digit infinitely. And so the point I'm getting at is part of your nature is to do endlessly. That's the ratio upon which our bodies are built. And so, because our atoms are built in this way, are constructed using this ratio, so our nature follows. It's like, if you want to know more about yourself, study the small stuff. Study the doingness. And that doing is just like that decision to cross the Rubicon, to do the thing. It's just like that yields, that yields the definition of who, or part of who you are, because it's like that's the next basic step in I am alive, I survive, I'm here, I am, to I create, I decided to create this energy that I have that is going to do this. And it's just like that definitive this will give us, part of who we are. And that's why when you ask somebody who they are, like, what are you? Who are you? It's like a lot of times they'll start with their job, or they'll start with, the things that they do, because it's just like that's the level of their consciousness right now. Is I'm still in the doing phase. It's just like I do, I am, I create this, and that's what I am. And that's okay, but we need to take it to the next level, which is the heart. It's what spirit do you do the things you do in? Why do you do them? It's something that for as long as humans have been around, we have examined this thing called love, this thing, the emotions of the heart, the spirit in which we do things. It's like when we think of spirit, like a lot of us will think of like this incorporeal thing. But it is this, I think of it as in the spirit of. When you say spirit, it's like the way that you do things, the why of what you do. And it's like, if you can define that to yourself, why you do these things, what do you feel when you do these things? I feel that when I do this, I feel good, I feel full, I feel whole. Or I don't feel good. It's like when I killed the frog, that didn't feel good, because I stopped something from doing its thing. And that something is a part of us. Because it's like, when you really bust it back to the basics, it's like we all rejoin the same deep down whatever there is. It's like in life, in math, which life is based on math, everything is divisible by 1. And because everything is divisible, it's like, why is everything divisible by 1? And I think that's because everything is 1. And what happens when you divide something by 1? It's like you get a reflection of that thing. It's like you divide 2 by 1, you get 2. And why is that? I think there's a very metaphysical reason for that. And that is, you are that thing. It's like everything that you see in life, you are. Because when you bust us back to private, when you bust us back to our component atoms, when you bust us back to pure spirit, we're all one thing. It's like, if you zoom out on existence, probably going to be this little dot in the big nothing. As large as it is, it's all bound to itself by the fact that it exists. And that is the common denominator within all of us. And it's also the key to compassion. And I'll say this probably a bunch of times in this podcast, because that's what it's about. It's about why we need each other, why we're here for each other. And it's because we're all a part of one thing. It's just like right now, it's like there's so many wars, and there's so many different reasonings behind that, so many divisions. And when we have division, when we have anything really, it's just like we have balance. So you create one thing, a reciprocal action will be created. When you create matter, antimatter and reciprocal will be created. So when I step on the teeter-totter, the other side of the teeter-totter goes up. When I take my foot off, it will rebalance out and drop. Everything in existence is balanced, because I believe everything in existence is contained within an infinitesimal point, a sphere. And that sphere contains all possibilities. But if we use that concept that everything is one, everything is contained, we're all a part of this, it's just like that feeling of belonging can explode within us, and something else comes up, like a willingness to serve, a willingness to be a part of everything that this is. It's just like in life, it's just like a lot of times it's like we feel separated, we feel apart, we don't feel connected to the community. And I feel that that's where a lot of depression and anxiety and pain comes from within the human psyche, because deep down we know that we're apart, but deep down we're in a lot of pain because not many of us are recognizing that. And in this age, I feel that that is a very important epiphany to have. That yes, you are a part of this. And when you serve this, when you serve life, when you serve your community, when you serve others, you serve yourself. It's like it's the greater self that you're serving. It's just like, and when you can use meditation or use whatever modality you use to get to the core of yourself, you can then see that that person sitting across from you or that person walking down the street is just another aspect of you that's putting on the hat of the it that is. It's just like if time and space is not linear, then you can cross a whole bunch of different egos, a whole bunch of different existent conscious matrices, people together in one place and one time. I don't know, when you suspend the laws of physics, thought experiments can get pretty fun. And with enough energy, laws of physics break down, like what happens around black holes. It gets really fun because what can be achieved, that kind of thing. And how do you feel about that? And it's like, how do I feel about being able to achieve anything? It's like I feel amazing. I feel a little scared. I feel kind of godly. But one of the things about, creating and doing and emoting about that, having a reflection on it, it's like what's the word I'm looking for? An awareness, of that moment. Is who else is experiencing that with me? It's just like, say you had all the power in the universe. You could create with a whim, whatever you wanted. It's like you could create and create and create and create and create. You could move in and out of every mind in existence. You were all things and had unlimited power. It's like the only thing that you would really have to contend with would be loneliness. And that loneliness, I think, it's like if you put yourself into the mind of God or you attempt to touch the mind of God, that's one of the first things that a human mind has to contend with is, well, I can create everything. I am everything. But I got nobody to share it with. And as a species, it's like I think that comes from the fact that we all were made to experience whatever this is, this existence, this reality, together. It's like, yeah, we may have our differences, but one of the underpinning truths of everything is that this was meant to be experienced together. And when we get away from that, when we disregard that we are all here for each other, to have differences of opinion, to have, different ways of looking at it, to have different perspectives, to have different directives on what to do and how to do it. It's just like, that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it worthwhile. It's just like you have somebody to hold you. You have somebody to fight. You have somebody to love. You have somebody to disagree with. You have somebody to agree with. It's just like these differences, make the world go round. But also, when we only focus on the differences, only focus on the fact that, oh, you're this type of thing, you're this type of human. It's like you're wearing this skin, you're wearing this mask, you're wearing this culture. It's like, and I'm not that. It's like when we get into that frame of mind and we disregard the fact that we all come from the same source, everything seems to fall apart. And I think that that's a fail-safe. War is a fail-safe, because when we disregard one of the most fundamental lessons of existence, we bust ourselves back to private, back to our component atoms, back to the one spirit, so that we remember what this is all about. Because so much pain can only be balanced by that feeling of unity, that feeling of togetherness where there is no you or me. There is just we. There is just what is. And I think that that's a fail-safe within the mind of God, or within the mind of the universe, or existence, or source, whatever you want to call it, the concept of the unity, the one, the big thing. And, when we can settle our heart in that way, expressing, our truths become all the easier, and that's the fifth chakra, the blue chakra, the throat chakra. It is this expression that allows us to even disagree. It's something that allows us to articulate what we are to each other. And this articulation also connects to the aspect of creation. It's like sound itself, vibration itself is what organizes matter. That's why a lot of people will say your words are spells. Be careful how you use them. It's like, because when you speak your words, when you speak things into existence, it changes existence. It vibrates matter in a different way. It's like, if I tell you I'm going to be here on this day, you may react differently if you want to be with me on that day, versus not being able to communicate that at all. It's like vibrations themselves. It's like the vibrations coming off the sun, like in the entirety of the electromagnetic spectrum, is what creates the solar system. And in turn, the vibrations coming off the galactic core is what organizes all of the different solar systems in that body. Vibration itself is what organizes. And one of our primal vibrations is the heart. Just like the heart is connected to the throat by the beat, that vibration that it produces also tells us about each other. Just like when somebody is feeling anxious, how do you know if you're not talking to them? You can feel it. It's like, because your body, your bio, like the field that the heart is giving off, the field that the body gives off, is called the bioelectric field. And the heart is one of the primary drivers of that field. And if you study the Institute of Heart Math stuff, you find out some really interesting things about the heart and the bioelectric field. But getting back to the point, it's like we can feel each other, that communication, that vibration, through the waves being communicated through each and every one of our bioelectric fields. It's like when somebody says, you're in my bubble, it's like you are actually in an electromagnetic bubble that person is producing, and you're communicating with that person. You're exchanging energy, you're exchanging information. And it's like, that's pretty rad. But also, it's like if you and another person aren't on the same wavelength, it's like producing the same signature of energy. It's like that can feel bad. It's just like everything we do as humans carries an energetic signature, an electromagnetic signature. It's like emotions have a signature, actions have a signature. It all has a signature, and that's communicated to the universal field. And it's just like, if the human race can evolve to the point where we can feel each other through that universal field, we will start to understand so much more about each other. And on top of that, to care what the other person is experiencing is paramount to all of us feeling better. It's like that is a necessity. It's just like there's a saying in Africa that a lot of the kids will say. It's just like, how can I be happy if everybody else is not happy? It's like, I forget how exactly it is, but it's just like that always really hit me. That in their culture, they understand that if everybody's not happy, how can I be? And it's just like, and that always really hit me, because here in the West, it's like we have such inequalities in living standards, such inequalities, like where some person can be so successful that they own, private islands and all of this stuff, yet they can exist within the same frame as a person that has nothing but the clothes on their back. And it's just like, how can we as a species, we as an individual even, be happy, if there isn't an equity? Maybe I'm using that. I don't know, I hope I'm using that correctly, but an equality between the two. It's just like, at least try to help them. Try to help them see. And I'm not saying that, the rich should give all of their possessions away, like Jesus said, or anything. But I'm saying, like, to help another when you do have, I feel is one of the most perfect ways to connect back to life. And I feel that is something, as a society, we have lost sight of along the way to advancement. It's like we've created all of this technology, but we've shut ourselves in, locked ourselves away from interacting with the world. It's like, in this digital age, it's just like so much information is passing between us, so many vibrations, so much of the blue chakra is passing between us, yet we are not feeling each other. It's like we're speaking, but we're not feeling. It's just like, being able to communicate is great, but if it's done in a way that's disconnected from the heart, it's like I feel that we lose something. And so, getting back to that basic rhythm of life, being around each other, communicating with each other on a personal basis, I feel is very important. And is something, that I like to facilitate. It's like more events where I speak in front of a crowd, I think, are in order. But for now, I hope that my heart is coming through, this microphone and penetrating my words, so that you can feel what I mean. When I say that, it's paramount that when you're constructing your character, when you're constructing who you are, to not forget that your heart, your feeling, the way that you do something, the way that you feel about what you do, like, is communicated through your words to everybody else around you. It's just like, tell the people around you love them. It's just like, tell them what you feel. Let your your heart come through your words. It's like I was talking to my buddy Hensy one day, and like Hensy's Mexican, and he loves, to express himself. And one day he was teaching me how to do the and I did it, and he was like, "No, man, no, you're not doing it right." And I was like, "What?" It's like, "What do you mean? That was like a perfect one of those." And he was like, "No, dude, no." It's like you didn't put your heart into it. And I thought about it for a minute, and then I let myself emote, and I was like, and he was like, "There it is." And it's just like, that's the way. And it's just like I totally realized in that moment that, if you don't put your heart into it, your words don't mean half as much. It's just like when you tell, when a girl tells you, "Oh, it's not what you said, it's how you said it." It's just like, and then the dude will think about it, and he'll try to say what he was trying to say, but in a different way. He'll use different words because the man's thinking logically. "Oh, it's not what I said, it's how I said it." And the girl will reject what he said instantly. And it's just and what we got to realize as men, it's just it's not the words that you said that pissed her off. It's the feeling that you said it with. If you didn't say it from a place of love, it doesn't matter what words you use. They could be the most articulate, poetic, well-crafted, sound, closed, perfect words in the world. Doesn't matter. It's you said it through a lens that wasn't love. Therefore, she's not going to accept it. Women feel first, men think first. And so it's just you got to be aware of that. It's very important when you're constructing who you are to allow your feelings to flow through your expression. And it's just and once you're able to express in that way, articulate what you feel, you can then craft your vision. And that brings us to the sixth chakra, the purple chakra, the third eye, the pineal gland. And it's the third chakra is your vision. It's in essence an awareness of the future, an awareness of your present. It's something that allows you to craft what you are through the dimension of time and space. It's a greater vision of yourself. It's what you're going to do over the span of time. And it's just if you can get to that level, where you're envisioning what you're going to do next, it's that's when things really start to get interesting. Because more than instinct and the awareness of that instinct, the awareness of your feelings and the expression of that, it's you can begin to weave that expression into reality, into the fabric of time. You can start to say, all right, I have a vision or a dream of doing X, of making a podcast, of being an actress, of, building the tallest skyscraper. And it's just and that's not something that you can just do in one go, do overnight, do in a moment. It's something that you have to organize. And so it's just who we are, what we decide to organize, how we see ourselves in our own mind is very important to crafting a vision in a vessel that subsists through time. It's just it's one of the things that separates us from the animals. It's because the leopard isn't thinking, oh, what am I going to do next week? The leopard is thinking of, I'm hungry now. Or the sun is shining now, so I think I'll go sunbathe. Or, there's a scent on the air, of a female, so I'm gonna go over that way, test my luck. It's just like there's not a it's like it's a separation in that we can further organize what we are, because it's like we can decide what we're gonna do, in the future. And it's just like seeing yourself. It's like that's a skill that I teach to my clients in life coaching that I think is misconstrued, because a lot of times it's like when somebody says, see yourself doing something, what's your vision of it? It's like it's a very brief flash. It's like, I'll have a thought, but I won't see the thought. And it's like, and that's when the most magic happens, is when you can hold the vision in your mind, see every detail, see yourself doing the thing. It's like when I try to do a handstand now, I'm not like thinking about putting my hands down and, the perfect, muscle contraction that I'm going to have in each and every fiber to make this thing happen. It's like, and that's what I used to do. But it's like when you try to control all the details, like all at once like that, it's just like, it's too much for the conscious mind. It's like the trick is to see it, to see yourself doing the thing, and then release the body so that it can match the image. And it's just like connect the feeling of doing it with the vision of doing it. That's something that Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, and I learned under him, like to do that, to bring the mind and the heart into coherence. And if you want to know more about that, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But if you want to go deep diving, go hit up Joe Dispenza, because he's the deal. But yeah, it's just like seeing who you are, seeing what you're doing, feeling what you're going to do in advance in conjunction with that, putting heart into vision. It's like as we build our character, it's just like bringing elements from below into the higher realms is paramount to providing a more complex and interesting vision of yourself, a more complex and interesting existence. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like actualization of yourself. And that's when people really start to pay attention to what you're doing. They can feel it, they can see the vision, they can see themselves in your vision. It's like every billionaire on the planet had a vision and felt their vision before they ever achieved it. And the more that we can see ourselves doing things and yet be unattached to the outcome of that thing, because remember, you gotta let go of the need to be remembered. You need to let go of the fear of failure, of dissolving into your atoms. Because even if you do, you're going to come back. It's like you may not remember it, but you will, because we're a part of existence, and existence never dies. And that, I think, is the most important thing. Because the seventh chakra, the crown, as they call it, is your connection to the greater universe, to the greater source. And when you let go of the vision and give it to the universe, without trying to control it, without trying to attach to it, that's when you let the energy go completely, and the universe can, in a balanced way, give you back what you sent out. Because it's like you're sending instructions to the construct of existence. When you have that vision, when you pair it with the feeling. And it will reflect to you, remember, the divided by one? the law of one. It's like when you send something out, you'll get something back. When you serve existence, it serves you. And conversely, when you take from existence or you try to harm existence because you don't understand the principle of reflection, you don't understand as above, so below, as below, so above, as within, so without. It's like when you don't understand that, it's like you get back what you gave. So when people go to war, for example, it's just like the one that's on my mind right now is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And it breaks my heart on both sides. Because it's just like we're all brothers and sisters here. We're all trying to live. We're all trying to be ourselves. Be what we are. Be who we are. Without compromise. But when we forget, that we are all a part of this and we're all just here to live, love, experience, learn, and we go to war with each other over our perspectives or because we want our country to last through the ages, when we believe that we are better than another or our lives being more, so that's when we lose. It's like, because even if you win, yet that win comes at the price of killing a part of yourself. There's always going to be a stain on your heart. For me, so I killed that frog. And it's just like, and I still feel the weight of that creature's death. Even after all these years. So, in closing for today's episode, just think about that. Think about how we are all just constructs of the same universal force. And when we respect that, life thrives, it flows and flourishes. And really, that's all we all want. So, let's get back to doing that. Signing off for now. I'll see you on episode 3. Peace out.